am Cammie Nairn. I am your NCEES product manager. My title is NCEES Education Product Consultant on the DPI, Digital Teaching and Learning Team with the Home Base Group. Joining me today in our presentation is Miss Jennifer Bass. She's my colleague over to support NCEES policy. I'll let Miss Jennifer say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Cammie said, I'm Jennifer Bass, and I work for the Educator Standards and Evaluation Division. So if you have any questions at any time about NCEES and the policies that surround NCEES, you can give me a call or a message right here. There's my email. So thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Jennifer. And also on my team, on the home base team, I have joining us Miss Audrey Long. She's our backup for NCEES, and she's going to help us with the questions today. Would you like to say hello, Miss Audrey?
Hello, everyone. Like Cammie said, I'll be here to assist her. So while she's doing the presentation, if you have any questions, I'll be monitoring the chat for any questions. So just go ahead and drop, if you have questions, just drop it in the chat and I'll let Cammie know. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys. All right, and just like Miss Audrey said, here we are using WebEx meetings, so you can use your chat. It looks like a little bubble that you can click on to open your chat like this. It may be under the three dots, depending on how you signed in today is where you're going to find your chat. And please do send your questions to everyone. You can send private questions as well through there by changing who it goes to or by opening the Q&A under the three dots. If you need closed captions, those are available as well. And I know if you're having audio issues, you're not hearing me right now, but audio issues can be taken care of under the three dots by trying to switch your audio and joining a different way for the audio systems. This is our agenda today. We're just going to take a look at accessing the system for the new year and reviewing the teacher evaluation process. It is similar to the support staff process. So just if you're not a teacher, if you're a counselor or CDC or something like that, joining us today, this will still be informative to you as far as going through your evaluation process. We'll look at the PDP as well and review the self-assessment and observation activities and take a quick look at how to find professional development and the My Courses area to manage your courses. But we're going to get started with how to access NCEES. Do we have anybody here brand new that's never been in NCEES before? Can you put that in the chat if you're brand new? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody chatting. So I'm going to assume that you've been in NCEES before, so you've gone through our single sign-on system. It kind of has three names: Rapid Identity, NCEES Cloud, or IAM. Oh, there's somebody that's brand new. So if I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Is it Badu? And you can unmute if you like, if you want to talk back. That's fine. We're small enough.
I was playing with my phone.
Okay.
It's Badu.
Badu, thank you. Well, welcome.
No worries.
So have you been able to log into the single sign-on system? Yep.
Yes, I can get in there.
Good. All right. I just want to make sure. Because if you're brand new, you would claim your account and set up your password, and then you could come back here and do your step one, which is put in your username, click go, put in your password, click go. Your dashboard will load up, and this is a new look this year. Our dashboard was updated this summer. You can bookmark things and change your view if it's hard to look at with the new bigger tiles on the dashboard. There, just go up under applications and change to your dashboard view or your favorites view. There's different ways you can play with your dashboard view, so it may be easier for you to find what you need. But we're looking for the NCEES icon, and it does look like a PowerSchool icon because PowerSchool is our vendor for NCEES. So it says Unified Talent under that PowerSchool blue, cyan blue P, and then you're going to look at NCEES is written beside it, and you're going to launch NCEES. So as a user or teacher or staff in NCEES, this is the landing page. You're going to land on your home page. and it will have a welcome message. And so you'll see that welcome message change every so often. So do stop and read what the welcome message is. This is a new item for NCEES this year. We are now adding additional staff that will only be in NCEES to take the professional development courses. They won't be getting evaluated in NCEES. But this guide is also good for anybody looking for professional development. All these links show you how to find professional development and manage professional development in NCEES. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see a list of webinars that are upcoming. So do keep that link for the NCEES 22-23 webinars bookmarked. I have just set up all our September webinars. Those are kind of be featuring, I'll pop this over here so you can see it. This is the page that you'll go to. And anything that we've done and recorded, the link will be taken away off of the title, and the recording links will be posted over on the right. So today we're doing beginning of year for teachers, and this is where the registration link currently is, so that will be removed. And by Friday, I'll have the recording link up here and the link to the slides. So I have also set up our September webinars for teachers. One that would be great for you to come to. The Do You Know tips is usually for administrators. If you're a teacher that helps with your PD office in NCEES, then that next one is good. But the one the teachers would really benefit from is CEU's My PD and My Transcript. So maybe bookmark that one to go to. Oh, the other things you're going to see is your initials at the very top of the page. This is where you're going to find your profile. It's where you can log out. And then also, if you click to access your profile, there'll be another tab called Snapshot. And if you're taking PD in NCEES, it will give you a total of the credits you've earned in NCEES under Snapshot. Or if you've been getting evaluated in NCEES, it will show you the ratings that you've earned year to year if you're still in the same district. When you move district, some of that, your plans deactivate, so it may not give you year to year. It may only give you current year. The question mark is the PowerSchool help guides. The one with the square star is a calendar, so your district may be putting dates out here. I do try to put the webinar dates out there, but we've been traveling a bunch this summer, so I hope to get that updated soon, but there is a calendar there. And then if I or your district send you a message through the NCEES system, you'll get a red circle on this envelope that tells you have a message. Click on that and read your message. So, we kind of skipped over the first tab you would go to see is your My Evaluation. That's where you can go open your evaluation in PDP, but we'll review that shortly. Staff evaluations, you do not really need to go there unless you are a mentor or a peer, because if you can click on that, but you won't see anybody unless somebody has assigned you access to see that person's plan. So if you're a peer observer, a mentor, then you can see the PDP or the evaluation. Help guides. So this is where your help guides are located. And notice that they're divided by plan type, so comprehensive, standard. The first guide in the list will be for the teacher or support staff. These are view and do guides. Oops. Then let me click on the link. Okay. Let me come here. Click on one of these. So I did give you a slide with the links in the slides. Just be slow. There we go. So these are view and do steps. It tells you what must be completed to complete the plan for the year. For if you're on a comprehensive plan, then you're going to need the observations 1, 2, and 3 and the peer observation completed. And then your evaluator will do that end of year summary evaluation. So just click and read through each step. There are screenshots. Their screenshots are relevant even if they show an older year. We go through and look at these each year and update any graphics that need updated. But you may see some with an older year on it. That's okay. It's still the same kind of step. And then as you go through, like here, step 1 says do. So you're going to do this first step. And then just follow it through. If there's anything you just need to view, such as this, it will tell you this is a step you're going to view, but you're not actually going to do any activity in there. All right, so that was on your help guides page, and here's a slide with all the links to the guides that are on the help guides page that align to your evaluation. There are a couple of sites we wanted to show you, and one of those is the NCEES information and resources for the teachers. This is a new public site. So if you're not a teacher, I'm going to show you where to go in just a minute, because this link goes straight to the teacher page. This gives you your policies, any procedures that you have, documents for, resources that you're going to need, and then a comparison chart. This is kind of cool. This kind of shows you where your standards look compared to other people's standards. So here we have the teacher standards and elements, teacher leadership standards and elements, library media standards and elements. So that's just something if you'd like to go review. Now, if you're not a teacher, you're going to come to the home button, and you're going to click on support staff. And then you're going to find your manuals and your information under the links. If there's an asterisk on here, these are not evaluated in NCEES. School counselors are evaluated in NCEES. And so here's your resources and information. I did put a link for support staff. Good for me. So there's one for teachers and one for support staff that will take you directly there. All right, and this is just a view of the site. So this link goes directly to the home page. So then you can come out here. At the bottom of that page is where you can find the link for our webinars. Right here's the webinar series. If you guys have not done orientation yet, here's some orientation resources. There's a video out here that's good to watch. Your district may already have this on your schedule to watch. All right, Miss Jennifer, is this your slide?
I think it is. Thank you, Cammie. All right, we want to go over a little bit about educator evaluation, and we want everyone to understand that NCDPI firmly believes that educator evaluation is about growth and improvement of teacher practices. Too often teachers think that this is a gotcha, or they're coming into my room to get rid of me, or something like that. They think of it in a negative way, but for sure, this evaluation system is set up and designed to grow and improve our teachers in the classroom. So as you can see at the bottom, the intended purpose of the NCT teacher evaluation process is to assess the teacher's performance in relation to the North Carolina professional teaching standards and to design a plan for professional growth. And we want you to keep that always in mind. It's all about growth and improvement throughout the year. So we want you to understand the observations themselves. And we want you to consider that the year-long evaluation process is a series of formative assessments throughout the year, where the administrator is actually going into the classroom, observing, collecting formative feedback, and checking the standards and collecting data on the rubric itself. They are only collecting feedback throughout the year, and they are only evaluating one time per year. So there is a big misconception that teachers are evaluated and rated throughout the year, and that kind of breaks down our focus on growth. So we want everybody to understand that we're only evaluated one time at the end of the school year, and that's really the only time that ratings are ever assigned for each standard. So there's just one collection of data to inform the evaluation at the end of the year. So let's keep that in mind. On this page, you can see this is a link to our teacher evaluation process, and you will have this on our website. You will be able to see this and pull it up whenever you'd like so that you can see the whole process throughout the year and all of the steps and components. So if you want to go to the next, there you go. When you look in the teacher evaluation manual, you can find this on page 21. Then this is the one pager that makes it very easy for you. You can see there are 4-step processes in its entirety, but we want you to look at step 1. It begins in green on the top left and circles around clockwise. Today, we're just going to focus on the first 3 steps. The highlighted green part, which is training and orientation. The highlighted in purple, which is self-assessment, goal setting, and pre-conference. And then step 3, which is highlighted in pink, which is the actual observation cycle. Step 4 will probably be covered more at the end of the year webinar. We're not going to focus on that as much today. As you can see on the screen in front of you, this is the cycle comparison chart that we have. You can see, as Cammie said before, there are 3 different types of cycles. There's a comprehensive cycle, a standard cycle, and an abbreviated cycle. And this chart will actually tell you what's required for each cycle. So this is something that you can pull up, and there is a chart. The chart can be accessed from our screen here, from the PowerPoint, and you can kind of take a look at that, what exactly is required in each different cycle. So we're going to start with the beginning of the year orientation. So if you want information and resources, we do have this new site, as Cammie talked to us about, and the arrow is pointing to the beginning of the year orientation page. And she pointed that out to you earlier. There is information there for you that you can go back and look at, and there is a webinar that we have, or a recording of a webinar that we have encouraged districts to use with their teachers at the beginning for the orientation itself. But you can take a look at that there. So at the beginning of the year, staff should always have a face-to-face or a virtual orientation meeting to discuss any questions and to make sure that everything is clarified regarding NCEES itself. Teachers need to understand how they're going to be evaluated, how they'll be observed, and how that is going to happen. They need to have a good understanding of NCEES itself. We do recommend that all of the staff view the orientation recorded webinar that we have on our site together, because that way everybody can watch it, and that way everybody has the orientation and can check that off in the system itself. But prior to orientation, principals should send a reminder email regarding that orientation meeting, and they have to provide a link to the NCEES. They can provide a link to the NCEES, not Google site anymore, but our Canvas page. We need to change that, where all evaluation information and resources can be found. We have the link to the policy, the rubric link, all down at the bottom, so you can go back and look at those. And the calendar schedule will be provided by the principal. But up at the top there, you can see in the orange box, orientation. Within the first 2 weeks of the teacher's first day of work in any given school year, the principal has to provide those things to the teacher. They have to have a copy of the rubric, and that could be directing you to the website so that you can see it online, or a hard copy. They need to show you where and how, or a hard copy of the state board policy for evaluation. And they also need to give you a schedule for completing the components of that evaluation process. And that doesn't mean to say, I'm going to be in your room to observe you on September the 23rd. It could just mean all first observations will be completed by a certain date, like October the 1st. So it's important that principals have to give you all of that as a teacher, beginning of the year, within 2 weeks.
Okay, and just to give you a date for the end of the year, all the observations have to be completed by June 29th, 2023. So that is when we're going to close out the system on June 30th. So we want our districts to be done by June 29th. And what needs to be done is all the required observations and the evaluation ratings at the end of the year. So for the evaluator to be able to do the ratings, if you're on a comprehensive plan, and this is for beginning teachers or teachers with experience, and you're new in the district and you've been placed on a comprehensive plan, then what's required is the observation 1, 2, 3, and that peer before the summary evaluation opens for the ratings to occur. For the standard plan, it's observations 1, 2, and 3. For abbreviated, it's observations 1 and 2. And probably we don't have anybody on a late hire plan right this minute. But after mid-year, maybe if you're moving districts and you're now a new teacher in a different district, they may place you on the late hire plan. It has to have at least one observation complete to open the summary.
Okay, do we have any questions before we move on to the evaluation process so far? Since I know we do have at least one new teacher. Nope. Okay, we moved pretty fast with a lot of information on these. That's why we videotape them so that you can go back and watch. And we also give you these slideshows so you can go back and get this information. But on the slide, look at the shaded in green step 1, training and orientation. Component 1 says, before you participate in the evaluation process, all teachers, principals, and peer evaluators must complete training on the evaluation process. This is where we have encouraged you to go to the Google site, not the Google site, the Google, I'm going to keep saying Google,
Resource
site, the resource site for upcoming NCEES webinars. Remember that you have access to the PD system. You have the online tools where you can find the modules, courses, presentations, anything that you need resource-wise to support you for professional development. Now let's take a look at orientation component 2. That is the whole thing, part of this presentation we're doing today. As I said before, within 2 weeks of your first day, the principal has to provide the rubric for evaluating teachers, the teacher evaluation policy, which happens to be evaluation EVAL-004, and they need to give you a schedule for completing the evaluation process. So now Cammie's going to talk to you about what that looks like in the tool.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, so this is where I said we would get back and look at the tab when you log into NCEES for My Evaluation. So when you come in here and you click on My Evaluations, it will bring up this page. On the left-hand side, if there are any announcements that are up here, there should be a container that says My Announcements, so you have an easy access to get to those announcements. And then you're also going to see a container for About My Evaluation. So those are, those are here as well, and there will be links for how to start your self-assessment and start your orientation activity to those help guides on this page as well. So you don't have to pop over to the help guides page. There are starting documents on this About My Evaluation section. As you look on the evaluation container, this is where most of you will be going. You're going to have your current evaluations, and the active tab always has a blue line on it. So currently the current evaluations is active. I see I've been assigned a comprehensive evaluation and a PDP, and it says start plan. So as long as it says start plan, I've not started my plan yet. So I'm going to come in here and click on the start plan button and complete the first activities in my plan. This makes the plan active, so then the evaluator can go to staff evaluations, find my plan, and do their next step. The other tabs that are out here, so tab number 2 is called Archived Evaluations. If you're brand new, you've never been in a district before, you won't have any archived evaluations, most likely. However, if you've been in North Carolina for a while and gotten evaluations in NCEES, as long as you're in the same district, those plans are archived every year, and they do end up under the Archived Evaluations tab. If you've changed districts, those plans, those archive plans, then move over to deactivated evaluations. And one other thing that can move plans from this tab to here is, we haven't talked about how you access NCEES, but it's done from what you're paid out of in your payroll, your budget code. So if ever a budget code accidentally gets changed, that can deactivate your plan. So if you come out here one day, you know you've started your plan, and now all of a sudden it says start plan again, don't start your plan. Tell your principal, tell your NCEES lead, hey, I've started my plan, but now I see a new start plan, so that they can either check staff UID for your budget code and see if it changed for some reason, or send a ticket to DPI and I'll go check on things. So do go out here to deactivated evaluations. If you've started your plan, then you come back later in a few weeks and it says start plan again, come over here to deactivated evaluations to find it. You can let your principal know that, yes, I see it under here, and then they can let me know and I can restore the plan. As long as you don't start the plan, then it will, when I restore the plan, it will put everything back the way it was at the beginning. All right, any questions about that? About starting that plan? All right, here's what an announcement looks like. So if you were to click into an announcement, it gives you your message. It'll mark it red. You can click in there, and then you can mark things as red, or you can go open them and read them. You can delete them with the little delete icon here. Here's that about my evaluation container. It just lists all the different roles that are in NCEES and what kind of plans they can be on. And then here's those help guides. There'll be links out here for you if you don't know how to start and do your training and orientation step, or your self-assessment step, or what we just talked about, how to start your plan. There'll be little icons on your steps in your activities in your plan. So if the icon is gray, it means it's not been started yet. If it's blue, 3/4 blue, it means it's in progress. If it's orange, it means it's almost complete, or it was complete and somebody has reopened the activity for editing. And then when it's complete, it will show as a green check mark. Anything that's required in your activities as you go through your plan will have an asterisk. Some activities are going to show you this circle with the eye on it. This is information, and usually it's showing because that activity is not available for you to click in yet, because the previous or earlier activity needs to be completed first. And if you hover your mouse over the eye, it will tell you what activity needs to be done, so that this container with the eye on it will open up for you to get into. Once the whole activity is completed, your evaluator locks it. So there'll be little lock icons. May not be viewable to you, but will be viewable to your evaluator. So this real quick is just another link to how to start your plan. And we talked about that first 10-day rule. Ms. Jennifer mentioned that. When you start work, the orientation and all needs to happen in that first 10 days here. Here's the guide again for that. All right, and here's what I talked about. If you see this start plan again, I just wanted to give you a slide to remind you, if you ever were to go back out, you started your plan, now you see that blue button again, this is what you need to do. Once you've started your plan, the link then turns into the title of your plan. You can always click in here to see your school assignment. It's very important that you're only active at the current district. So if you still have an active status at a former district, it will put both school names on here, which is not good, because then other districts can access your plan. Or if we were ever needing to print you your plan, we can only send it to the district that started the plan. And if you have two school names on here, we can't tell which district actually started the plan. So it just makes the process harder to document who should legally have access to the plan. So just make sure that your previous districts have inactivated you if you're seeing two school names out here. You will click on the title to re-access any activities in your plan. So here we're clicked into the comprehensive evaluation plan, and it has a training and orientation step. You click on that, it opens again, and then you click on the other little blue link that is also named training and orientation. You're going to complete your orientation step by clicking on the edit button. It gives you links to those evaluation rubrics and policy that your principal also has to make sure you have, but they are also linked in here. You're going to put in the date when you received orientation, and again, check that school name that's listed there. And then you're going to complete it. If you mark complete, it will give you a green check on the activity, but if you click the back button, it will put it with the orange activity almost complete. So maybe you're not quite ready to mark it complete. You just need to click back in the activity to then mark it complete and get your green check. So here's just a review of the steps for the evaluation. You're going to complete the training and orientation activity. For the PDP, your first step is to complete your self-assessment. And when it's complete, it never actually locks, so you can get back in there and reassess yourself later. And you have a choice to share your self-assessment. It's probably a good idea to share your self-assessment because you want that conversation with your evaluator. But do know that it is your choice. It is not automatically shared with your evaluator. And this is just another way to look at the steps in the plan, who does what first. So this is the observation cycle in your evaluation. So it's going to start with a pre-observation conference by the evaluator, and then they will sign off and acknowledge that conference. And then you as a teacher or staff will sign off and acknowledge it. And then comes the formal observation. That first one is usually always formal, and then depending on your plan type. And then the post-observation conference happens, and the evaluator acknowledges, and then teachers or staff acknowledges there. If there's anything that you need to provide artifacts, or maybe you're not happy with the conference, you have the ability to send a written response, and you can use written response at any time. So make sure that the acknowledgement is saying, well, we followed the process. The written response is saying, I want to either support what we had talked about in the conference, or I want to have a comment about the conference afterwards for the evaluator to acknowledge. So do send in the written response. Your evaluator does get an email to let them know to go look at your written response. And then you can continue that conversation. The evaluator will then acknowledge your written response. And then once all of that is complete, the evaluator will lock that observation activity. Any questions about what you're doing in the observation cycle steps? Okay. So here's a look at what we just talked about. Here's that observation container, the pre-observation, the conference and the teacher acknowledgement, the formal observation, and then the two acknowledgements. And then over here is I wanted to show you where those eyes are located in the circle, and if you hover over it, what it looks like, and it tells you what needs to be done. There is a place on the formal or informal observations where you can email people that have access to your plan. So maybe you want to email the mentor, the peer, or the evaluator, or the observer. Then you can come in here to your activity and click that email icon and send a message. All right, any questions about the evaluation process so far? I know we're at the beginning of the year, and we will follow up later with a mid-year webinar as well. All right, not seeing any questions, we'll move on to the PDP process. And here are your help guides for the professional development plan, the teacher and support staff guide, the evaluator guide, and the mentor guide, because if you're on a comprehensive plan and you're a beginning teacher, you will have a mentor assigned. So they need to know how to do their steps on the PDP. And we'll turn it back over to Jennifer.
All right. We're going to go now to The purple, step 2, that includes the self-assessment, the goal setting, and the pre-conference. So if you look at component 3, it reads, using the rubric for evaluating North Carolina teachers, the teacher shall rate his or her performance and reflect on his or her performance throughout the year. So the self-assessment should be a personal reflection about your professional practice to help you identify your strengths and the areas that you hope to improve upon throughout the year. The teacher self-assessment should be completed without input from others. It's your self-assessment. So it should be done by yourself or maybe with the help of a mentor. The purposes are to clarify your performance expectations, to help guide discussions about goal setting and professional development, maybe identify some needs or program needs or PD needs that you might have, and then to provide input into the final ratings. The self-assessment tool you can use to you can review and you can change it throughout the year. And as Cami said, you may choose to share this with your principals or not, but we do encourage you to share because that will help to guide the discussions and the help throughout the year that your evaluators are trying to give you as they observe in your classroom. So we do encourage you to share, but you don't have to. Then we'll move on to component 4. The goal of the pre-observation conference itself is to prepare the principal for the observation. It's a 45-minute look into your classroom or a 20-minute look if you're on one of the other more experienced teacher evaluations. So we want you to use this time to actually talk to your principal, share the self-assessment that you completed. Where do you think your growth areas are? What do you need PD on? You're also going to talk to them about your professional growth plan that you've developed. And you would share a written description of your lessons that you're going to have them observe in your classroom. So let's take a closer look at the professional development plans that we mentioned that you also need to be talking about in your pre-observation conference. There are 3 different types of professional development plans: the individual growth plan, the monitored growth plan, and the directed growth plan. The reason that we have PDPs, they serve as a roadmap for your growth as a teacher. They should also reflect the individual, the school, and your district goals, and always they should align with your school improvement plan. Also, you're using your teacher effectiveness data to help write your goals. So all of these things would go into your professional development plans. Let's talk a little bit more about what those growth plans mean, the different types. So let's go through. The individual PDP is for new teachers and teachers who are rated at least proficient on all of the standards in the teacher summary rating form. In these plans, the teacher is the person who sets their individual goals for their own growth. They meet with the administrator and share, and they will do that at least 3 times per year just to discuss at the beginning, the mid, and the end of the year, just to go over their goals and their progress. The monitored plan is for teachers who are rated developing on 1 or more standards on the teacher summary rating form. In this plan, the administrator and the teacher will meet together and discuss the set goals together, and they should meet at least 3 times also, beginning, middle, and end, to discuss growth. And this is where the administrator and the teacher will create those goals together instead of just the teacher doing it individually. If you have a teacher who's on a directed PDP, that means they have rated not demonstrated on any standard in the teacher summary rating form, or they have rated developing on 1 or more standard on the teacher summary rating form for 2 sequential years. The administrator, when these PDPs are written, the administrator sets the goals for the teacher. They base them on the observations and the documentation that they've collected, and they also need to make sure they're meeting at least 3 times per year to discuss the growth with the teacher. So as you can see, 1 school year or less to reach proficiency, and that's determined by your LEA. Now, I added this slide in because we had shared it with the principals before, and I thought it was very important for everybody to see it and you to have access to it. especially new teachers, or just all teachers, we know that you have to have a very in-depth understanding of the standards. What am I being observed on? What am I being evaluated at the end of the year on? And here we know that there are a lot of words in our standards. So what Dr. Robert Sachs did was created this slide. I think it was Robert or Kim. But they've broken down the standards and really condensed it for us to make it more easy to understand. So standard 1 is all about leadership. Standard 2 is about equity. Standard 3 is all about content. Standard 4 is instruction. And standard 5 is reflection. And we've done is we've taken out the core words, the keywords. So for example, in standard 1, teachers demonstrate leadership. There are 5 elements with lots of words, but we broke them down and said, what is the most important thing? Teachers lead in the classroom, they lead in their schools, and they lead in their profession. Teachers advocate for their schools and students, and they demonstrate high ethical standards. So it really breaks it down and pinpoints exactly what I'm expected to do as a teacher for standard 1. So I just thought that was a really good example of that everybody should have access to. It might make it a little easier to understand the standards that you're being evaluated on. And also, Dr. Sachs recorded a presentation that's understanding the teacher rubric. It is 2 hours long, but it is well worth listening to. He goes into depth about each one of these standards and the elements in each standard, and it helps teachers to really understand the standards themselves and how they're evaluated. So if you have time, we highly suggest, go listen to it. So it's a great recording.
Yes, I'll echo that. Yes.
So as you're developing your professional development plan, returning teachers who have taught already, what do you need to set your PDP goals? You need your previous year's summary evaluation. So you're going to look, how did I do last year? And what do I need to grow on from last year? Where were my strengths? How can I build on them? And what do I need to do for this year based on what I learned from last year? So you're going to use that last year's summary evaluation. You're going to use your self-assessment so that you can identify what standards and elements specifically you want to set your goals upon. If you're a new teacher and you don't have that summary evaluation, well, you can use your teacher candidate evaluation rubric that you had maybe when you were student teaching. Your mentor can help you because we said we need to tie it to school goals. We also need to tie it to school improvement goals. So your mentor can help you to do that. And you can also base some of yours on your self-assessment by identifying the standards and elements that you think as a professional you would like to work on this year.
Okay, any questions for Miss Jennifer? I'm not seeing any come in. All right, so just some additional slides for help guides. Here's the guide for doing that self-assessment. And then we're going to go back into NCEES and click on My Evaluation again. Click on Current Evaluations, although it should be active when you open it up. And then you're going to start your PDP plan. So here's a look at a self-assessment. You're going to click on the Start New. So we clicked on self-assessment, and then we're going to Start New. And then you're going to read through the standards. And remember that slide Miss Jennifer added will help break down all these words that are in the element description. And so here you will come in here and you will tally each box that you feel you meet. The ones that when your evaluator or observer observes you that they can observe in your classroom will have the word observation. These others, you may need to be collecting data and artifacts to help support that conversation that you're going to have at the observation conference. So if this was not noticeable in your classroom, what is going to document that you can tally these? But since this is your self-assessment, you may also want to know how you can back up how you marked yourself. And then finalizing the self-assessment, there must be one, let me come back here. All of these elements must have at least one tally mark in one of these boxes for all of the elements for you to then be able to mark it complete. So that's where you come in here and you don't see finalize. Go back and make sure you have at least one tally mark for every element. And then when you go under your menu, you'll see finalize to get that green check. Once your self-assessment is complete, that will remove the I from the initial review. And now this initial review activity is ready. This is also the teacher or staff step where you're going to enter your PDP and set information and, set your goals. So the first part of this is to complete the form that comes up, enter your subject area. Remember to watch for those little asterisks. You can enter your mentor name if you have a mentor, and then enter your subject area. Save and exit that. And then you can go to your goal setting container. And all of the activities for each goal, you're going to need to enter all of these containers. So what is your goal? What are your actions and activities that you're going to take to meet this goal? What do you expect the outcome, and what kind of evidence will you provide of completion in the third box? What resources are needed? Do you need somebody from IT? Do you need some other kind of resource? What resources are needed to help you meet your goal? And then the timeline that you expect to meet this goal. Can you meet this goal by mid-year? Is it going to take all year? Is it going to be an ongoing goal? What kind of timeline will fit that? So just make sure you enter something in each of those boxes. Your district will tell you how many goals to set, usually at least 2. And then once you've got that set, then you can come in and mark this complete as well. Here's just a look at who does what when. The teacher or staff does the first step for the PDP details. Then the evaluator signs off. If you have a mentor, the mentor can sign off, review and sign off, and then the teacher reviews and signs off, and then the evaluator can lock the activity. So initial, mid-year, and end-of-year activities. All right, Ms. Jennifer? I think we have 12 minutes.
12 minutes. We'll talk fast. All right. Going back to component 4, that pre-observation conference, the last part is the written description of the lesson that's going to be observed. And this is the last topic that we say you need to talk about in that conference. This is your chance to showcase your teaching practices, to share the culture of your class, prepare them for what kind of behaviors might be in the classroom, or how you group your kids, anything that you want to share. Be proactive and let them know what they're going to be seeing and why you're choosing to do what you're doing in the classroom today. That will help them that 45 minutes to truly focus after you've talked about your professional development plan, what you want to work on. That's going to help them to focus more on those types of things when they're in there observing in your classroom. So remember, the teacher should be leading this conference and this conversation so that the principal knows what they're going to be looking at and looking for when they come in to observe.
Okay.
So let's talk about the observation process. You see highlighted in red, step 3, the observation cycle, the administrative and the peer. And when we look at component 5, this is the observation itself. This is when the evaluator is going to come in and check the descriptors in the rubric while they're watching and observing your lesson. There are 2 types of observations. This is important. I'll get lots of questions about this. There are formal observations and informal observations. A formal observation will last a full 45-minute session or the entire lesson. If it goes over, especially in an elementary classroom, you might have to stay longer to actually get that. But that does, the informal observation should last at least 20 minutes. A post-conference is not required, but it can be requested by the teacher for those shorter 20-minute observations. Teachers with less than 3 years of employment will be on the comprehensive evaluation cycle that, as Kami told us before, is 3 formal observations, which are 45 minutes from the principal or their designee, which is probably an AP, and 1 formal observation from a peer. So those all have to be 45 minutes if you're on the comprehensive plan. Teachers that have more than 3 years of employment will be on the standard or abbreviated cycle. The standard cycle requires 3 observations. Only one of those is required to be formal, which is the 45 minutes, and the others may be the abbreviated. The abbreviated cycle includes 2 observations, and they're only looking at standard 1 and standard 4, which are leadership and instruction. And those abbreviated observations can be formal or they can be informal. That's the principal's choice as to how long they want to stay in. So I hope that answers a few questions that I get a lot about the observations. So then we'll look at component 6, the post-observation conference. The principal conducts a post-observation conference no later than 10 school days after each formal observation. So that's important. We don't want more than 10 days to go by because the whole point of being observed is the growth as a teacher. So we want them to meet with you as soon as possible, no more than 10 days. We wanted them to discuss and document your strengths and your weaknesses on the rubric itself. And then you can have a post-conference where you're actually sharing. They may have questions for you as to what they saw and what happened after they left, possibly. So this is also a conference that you need to be thinking about. What do you want to share? Because always when the principal left, it's like, man, I wish they could have stayed for 10 more minutes to see what we did next or see how the kids did. So now's your chance to actually share that with them. So the post-observation is crucial part of this process itself. It's the meeting between the teacher and the observer, and it provides a great opportunity to strengthen that communication between the two and to continue the improvement for our teacher practice. During those post-observation conferences, the teacher and the principal can discuss and document on the rubric the strengths and weaknesses of the teacher's performance during the observed lesson. Keep in mind, this process is about growth and improvement. The post-conference should not include any discussion of ratings. Remember, we're only observed during the year. We're only evaluated at the end one time. So I added this up here just so you might actually hear. We've been talking a lot to principals. We don't really want principals to talk to you about, are you developing, are you proficient, are you accomplished, are you distinguished, because we leave those for the end of the year. Instead, in a coaching type cycle, we're asking principals to talk with you and you to think about it this way. It more as knowledge. Do you know it? Do you know your content? Do you know what you're supposed to teach? Or action. Do you show it? You know your standards, but do you know how to teach them? Do you know how to get those things across to your kids? And then is there interaction? Am I seeing that cross over into the actions of the kids and the products that the kids are producing and the discussions that they're having in your classroom? And then you think about the last extension. Are you sharing these things outside of the classroom? Are the kids taking the things that you've learned outside of the classroom or connecting them to other subjects even? So as we're talking in these post-conferences, be thinking about, do I know it? Do I show it? Is it visible in your classroom, and is it visible outside of your classroom? The interaction, the knowledge, the action, the interaction, and the extension. This will help guide those coaching conversations, which is the whole reason that we do observations throughout the year. So I just thought that was important that you see that.
Okay,
So
any questions?
over.
Thank you. Any questions for Jennifer? Got a quiet group today. All right, so let's move on and see how this looks. We did look at the observation container a while ago, so just to reiterate, anything with an asterisk is going to be required. You may not see the asterisk until the activity is open. So this one has an eye on it. This is required, but you're not going to see the asterisk until it's open. And here's where the acknowledgement happens. So here's a teacher acknowledgement or staff acknowledgement view on the left here. You can edit this and add in those artifact comments and attachments, anything to support what you had the pre-observation conference about or a post-observation conference about. Once any required steps are done, it will give you that acknowledge button, which once you click that, you're going to get the green check mark. Here's what a written response looks like. So if you do have something you want to write a written response about, you are legally required, we are legally required to give you an opportunity to do that. So here is the area in NCEES in the online tool where you can submit a written response. So here's where you're going to come in. You're going to click edit. You're going to put in your comments, any attachments, and then you can add any additional artifacts down at the bottom. The email goes to the evaluator or observer, and then they respond, and they'll click yes, they have received your written response. So real quickly, while you are in an observation, most of the times these light bulbs don't show up in the self-assessment, but when you're looking in your observation rubric, and maybe you set leadership as one of your PDP goals, you're going to try to meet the standard for leadership. Maybe you'd like to take some PD that will be a supporting artifact for the process you're making towards your goal. So you can find connected PD. Our course creators, we always ask them to please align standards to their courses. And if they have aligned those standards to a course, then their course connects to this light bulb. So you would click on the light bulb, and there's a help guide here. And once you click on the light bulb, you'll get a list of any aligned courses that are aligned to the leadership standard that we were just looking at. So you as a teacher would skip over all this in-between steps. This is for the evaluator. And when you come over here and find a course, you can click on the title to read more about it. And then you would click register to start the course. So as a teacher, you would just, if you want information, click on the title of the course. And then on the far right, you're going to click register, and it'll give you like a two-step process to register for your course. And then you can provide that as support or artifact for meeting your goals. So just real quick, I know we're getting toward the end. We've only got a couple of minutes. We do have in September that CEU webinar that's going to walk through a lot of the professional development and the My Courses tab. So please do plan on attending that in September. But this is where you go search for courses. And so we don't have time to go through all of it. But of course, the very top box is where you can go search for math, for cell courses, for any kind of course, or just click a show all and go through the list. On the My Courses page, once you found a course to take, it will show up in this container for My Courses. There'll be a list here of any course that you've put in progress. This is where you're going to find your transcript button. So when you complete a course, it will give it a green check and it will place it on your transcript. This is where you go print your certificate. If your evaluator has recommended or required a course for you to take, you'll see those in these boxes and it will list their name. If you don't see a name listed with a course in these two boxes, it means the course creator recommended or required the course. You are not obligated to do a recommended or required course from our course creators. They're just sharing it as informational. However, if you do see a course with an admin's name on it, you probably want to go have a conversation with that admin on when they expect you to be done with that course. So let me get this feedback link. Thank you for attending our webinar today. We fit it right into the hour. We do ask you to complete our feedback. If I can get it in here. This is also where the last two questions are, do you want to have a certificate for attending today? And I just put that link for feedback in the chat. So fill out the feedback form. If you do want to receive a certificate, answer the last two questions, and then it will email you. This will be in your email body that comes back to you. It will email that to you, and you can print that out. It will be coming from noreply@qemailserver.com. So look for that. If your email is restricted, you may find it in your junk or spam. but it's coming from no reply at qemailserver.com. You would print out the body of your email. It'll show up like this certificate here, and you would turn that into your district for approval. You can also get to this feedback form with this QR code up here. I'll come back to that. Just wanted to show you real quick. We do have some links for our emails. I'm Cammie, and Miss Jennifer has been talking to you today. You can click on our names to email us any questions. And here's what the website I showed you about the webinars, how to find those past webinars and the recordings, and we'll have this one posted by Friday. This is where we post our webinars, so if you ever just want to bookmark the NCEES playlist, this is where you can go find our webinars as well. And then we'll open it up to any additional questions, and I'll go back to the feedback slide so you can make sure you have that link or the QR code. So if there are no further questions, I'm not seeing any in the chat, we're going to wrap this up right now. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. I want to thank you for your attendance today, and thank you for Audrey and Miss Jennifer for joining today.